I think I can start. What? Okay, so let me try to actually start our discussion on the project. I will make an overall presentation, an introductory presentation that has been prepared by the group here. And it has these different, let's say, chapters with objectives, target groups, the needs, the expected results, and the work packages and timeline only very, very briefly, and then we'll get into that in more detail. The first is the objective. Of course, these are more or less what we have suggested in our proposal, to contribute in addressing climate crisis through quality education in the Mediterranean. Actually, we are in the EU part of the Mediterranean, and the Mediterranean is for not only for Europe, for all the countries, but for Europe as well, the climate change hotspot. You know that is the fastest warming area in the world after Arctic. Also to promote climate change education through development and testing of traditional and innovative teaching methods, directly engaging educators and pupils, of course, in climate crisis issues, the climate change issues, in a setting where key competences such as critical thinking, inclusive and collaborative problem solving will be developed as students are more science, climate, ICT literate towards a climate neutral EU 2050. The last one is one of the promises, let's say, of the European Union, one of the commitments of the European Union, and our material and our work is going to help the EU first to achieve this goal. But as I said before, the material has the ambition to be useful also beyond the EU. What the target group or groups are? Teachers first, of primary education level, pupils 9 to 13 years old, more staff from schools and the wider school community, and also trainers of non-formal and informal education in NGOs and NGO networks. This is also because of this, it is also the synthesis we have in our group with a very, very strong presence also of the NGO networks and organizations. Target groups of the project in each partner country. All project activities from training to testing, innovative learning tools will be designed and developed with these target groups in mind. So it is important from the beginning to remember that what we are doing is going to be used by professional staff in schools, but also by professional people who have a lot of experience, but not necessarily within the schooling system. So it is what we say in the second paragraph here: teachers, pupils, and their families, but also other beneficiaries, educational institutions, teachers associations, parents or parent associations, local communities, different departments of universities dealing with ESD, and public authorities as well. PARCEE will address, as I said, formal and non-formal educational environments, indirectly also informal, engaging them in hands-on learning, critical thinking, collaborative, inclusive problem-solving practices, with the aim of increasing not only their knowledge of environment and climate change, but also, of course, if possible, their behavior. Based on our synergies with key Mediterranean stakeholders in the field of education and climate change, as I said, many more NGOs, public authorities, ministries, intergovernmental organizations in the EU and Mediterranean region will eventually be informed and utilize the project outcomes. I mentioned already to you that only 3 days ago, we had a major event in Slovenia, in Portorož, on education for sustainable development, and many of the non-EU countries are looking and expect from us support. Now the needs. We all know more or less the needs. The greenhouse effect brings many misconceptions and misunderstandings around. We need to clarify that. There are 3 simplistic but useful options about climate change. The one is just increasing temperature, and so just shifting the whole Gaussian to hot. This is very simplistic, and that we are going to have less cold weather and overall hot weather, more hot weather. It is to a certain extent true. We try to capture it in the next model. The second model is that we don't have any longer the Gaussian with the average temperature as it was, but it is lower and flatter. So we have even more cold weather events, extreme events, and more hot extreme events. But this, in fact, creates or actually triggers a new kind of climate. And there is a third scenario, a third option, where we have still the same, but in general, more record hot weather and less actually cold weather. So it is a combination of the previous two. We are not sure about. Personally, I believe that the second scenario is the most probable. So we have a more flat, actually, Gaussian as the previous one, but like that, and even lower, but and perhaps slightly shifted to the right. But this, like the previous one, but without excluding some extreme cold also events. Well, we don't, when we say cold and hot, this is oversimplification, because it is not what we expect to have throughout the region, in the Mediterranean in particular. We are going to have more dust storms, for example. We expect to have more heat waves in the sea. We had already 2 of them, one some 6-7 years ago, and the other only on the summer, during the summer of 22, where you have within a few days, particularly in the Western Mediterranean, an increase of the temperature of water in the sea of the order of 10 to 12 degrees. This means thermal shock for a number of species and total loss of some species, or very, very difficult conditions for many more. At the same time, you have, in a certain extent, stimulating the existence of some exotic species like Lagocephalus in Greece. We have a small film I will show you later on from Crete, where we had almost 1 kilometer of nets. And in this 1 kilometer of nets, we had only 3 fishes, 1 or 2 of them half eaten already, edible, and a few hundred of Lagocephalus who are toxic. You cannot use them at the moment. And imagine that this species was introduced 1.5 decades ago in the Mediterranean, in the size of sardines. And now you have them in Crete, the biggest one in one of the catches in Crete was 36 kilos big. This fish, of this size, was never observed in the Indian Ocean or the Red Sea, but here, because they have no enemies at all, they actually dominate. So these kind of events are not only temperature, are important for the total change of ecosystems and the economy and social, because we are talking about climate change victims in sub-Saharan Africa or other areas, but we have also in Europe, as I told you, victims, our fishermen are totally, let's say, destroyed. So these are some of the, let's say, essential elements that we need to develop within our material. It is also the need to enhance climate change education in all partner countries, particularly the Mediterranean ones, with the aim to train, teach, sensitize large numbers of educators, but also learners and their environment, their families and others on this important issue by preparing a suitable, innovative learning content, taking also into account the previous one. Knowledge transfer concerning environmental issues and sustainable development needs to be an integral part of the curriculum in primary and secondary education, therefore increasing awareness and establishing sustainable lifestyles as a social norm. This is one, let's say, extract from a paper of 2020. And in fact, our program places the sustainable, not only sustainable development education, climate change education within not only sustainable development education, but in the center of the entire norm, aiming to create new inclusive training programs, equip youth with the technical and soft skills required for the green transition. We have already presented in our proposal some of these things. And when we go back, when we ask the different groups about the different needs, The teachers is actually we just discussed before that say that the lack of curriculum coverage on ESD and the climate crisis is most profound system level barrier. It is not enough provision in the curricula for that. Together with lack of relevant educational resources in terms of content, material, and guidelines, preferably in the native speaking languages, to support their teaching climate action in an engaging and innovative way, paying attention also to creating possible emotional state, giving joy and engaging all the pupils. We've heard from you already from the schools how you try to secure this positive emotional state with joy, but our curriculum cannot, of course, cover the provisions in the programs, but the lack of relevant educational resources in terms of content, material, and guidelines is what we are trying to provide. So we try to solve some of the requests of the teachers as it concerns the material which is available. So the gaps is introducing a learning perspective based on whole school approach and inclusive education in preparing and testing suitable educational material on all aspects of climate change education, from science-based facts, observed consequences, and social injustice aspects, but also adaptation and mitigation perspectives. This sentence includes a lot. And all this is, in the essence, in the heart of our material. What is in addition here is that we think that the whole school approach and inclusive education and the principles they bring together need to be clearly identified and present in our material, but also science-based facts. It is very important at the same time to show that decision-making and also behavioral changes should not be considered based on rumors or on false alarms. What is important is that what we are presenting is based on science, on concrete science, and also observed consequences, and then link this to non-scientific but social and economic consequences. So it should be a model of how material should be created, based on science and taking into account also the other aspects. Now, the expected results. Of course, we are ambitious. We need to develop and test a multilingual. We start with 4 languages with potentially more. Traditional and innovative educational material. Both forms are important and needed, because we have teachers working with both. And we need actually to encourage, through the comparison of traditional and innovative educational material, to encourage and empower educators to move, let's say, gradually from traditional to innovative educational materials on climate change, including inclusive approaches, tools, such the ones developed in the University of Crete for pupils, teachers, and also including for those with fewer opportunities. As I said, this is why we need to have in 2 formats the material. By the way, this will allow us, and this is outside the scope of the project, to have some research. We hope, we'll discuss it later on, that some of this work is going to be, from the beginning, designed also to produce a number of publications, particularly in the comparison, the impact of the two differentiated approaches and how these are hopefully productive, and if not, see what are the needed, let's say, additional interventions to achieve our scope, our vision. Also developing a teacher tool. This is also an important part, and guide. In this tool, we will elaborate also on some of the implementation of the framework pedagogical conditions, the whole school approach, the inclusive education, and several other innovative technologies. Also training teachers in critical aspects of that, and how to use and produce educational material in both forms, particularly also in the more advanced augmented reality approach. Also, how to prepare themselves, the teacher, engage with their pupils on innovative, inclusive educational activities, applying the whole school approach, and also sensitizing the wider public, various stakeholders, and competent authorities through also the final closing event, which we'll discuss further, but we imagine it as a very major event of international importance and visibility. Now, the work packages, we will discuss them in more detail. Package 1 is the management, quality assurance, and project meetings. Package 2 starts with the country research. This is very, very urgent to start. We have then the development of the traditional educational material, January to May. So by May, it should be ready. Then we have the translation in the different languages, innovative educational material till October, between May till October 24. And this is the package 2. The package 3 is in parallel, starting with some delay after having the TEM. We prepare the teachers' training material. Then we have some online trainings with educators, some webinars for the wider educational community. And the package 3 has, of course, some flexibilities about the type and the dates of these online trainings we'll discuss. The package 4 is the implementation in the different school units and new activities developed. We have pre and post evaluation of the impact of the materials, both the traditional and the innovative, at school level and at family environment. I will explain that later. And we have the evaluation report, while the package 5 is a communication, dissemination, exploitation, and sustainability plan. We have a number of country multiplier events, and the final conference, as I said, it is something that we need to plan ahead well, and the final report. So this is more or less the program. here are the Gantt chart for the different activities, but we will see them in a while in more detail. It is, yeah. Yeah, I think that we can discuss this later on, but in fact, you see that the bulk of package one is now, in the coming months. And then we have something for the teachers, for the guide. The package two, you see, it is 24. Package 4. This is package 4. Package 4. The implementation at schools starts. What is the month there? Is month. So it is for a year. In the second year. In the second year. Yeah. And we have the communication throughout the project. So this is all from my side. And we may, if you have any questions on the basic architecture, please ask me. Don't go.
Perhaps it's a good opportunity to discuss a bit the Gantt chart or the timelines of the project. If we have some.
I think we need first to get a little bit deeper in its project. I may elaborate more if you wish, but what is according to the program, what time we have the lunch? And now it is. Okay. So let me ask you if you have some overall questions at this moment on the concept that we are following, which is, I think, very straightforward. In essence, we are preparing the traditional material based on what we know and what you can provide. All the partners should send us material they are using or they are aware and they consider as important for climate change education. So this is the first. We will need very soon to have from all of you either the material itself or references for the particular material. We don't need to be flooded with too much information, but we need to make sure that something important is not missing. To give you an idea of what we want to do is because the University of Crete explained and will explain again, because also of the cost and the needed human resources and effort. We imagine something like 30 pages or 30 to 40 maximum pages of the traditional material, because it has to be concise. Everybody should understand that. So this material will be the traditional the traditional content that we prepare. I'll come back to that. It will be basically prepared by MIO with communication to all of you for comments, for whatever additions or correction or whatever you want. And this is the material that needs to be done immediately till May. So in May, this material will become available to read, to start transforming it into using augmented reality and all other tools that that are necessary. At the same time, we start again with guidelines for the educators. This is also going to be sent to all of you. So this is the, let's say, the core of the starting. In parallel, we'll have communication activities, and we'll have the preparation of contacts and the rest for the application of this material to the schools, to the participating schools, and later on, perhaps further other users, if we so decide. This is over and above. So this is more or less the what we have discussed there. But perhaps Bessie, who has with Vasilis elaborated a little bit the Gantt chart, you may add if you wish some additional.
Thank you, Professor Koulos. We have printed the Gantt chart here on the table, so we can discuss it and see how, if it is feasible. Of course, in starting such a discussion, we need to also keep in mind that any change that we might feel necessary to do should be very, very something that it's absolutely needed, because as you know, in KA2 Erasmus project, every change needs to be communicated to the national agency, and a revision of the timeline of the schedule is needed. So we hope that the timeline as it is proposed, it is actually doable, and that it's something that you may all agree upon. So we would like your comments or any.
Especially regarding the implementation, because schools have a certain window of implementing projects. So this is very crucial that the implementation period is.
Yes.
We are talking about
So we have, what is crucial, of course, is the development of the material itself. Because if we don't have the material, then nothing can start and nothing can be implemented. So the crucial thing is that we'll be able to have the material, traditional educational material, by May. So this is the one major step that we need to accomplish. Then we have the University of Crete coming in to convert this traditional educational material into the innovative one, and through developing the augmented reality activities and everything, so that all these materials are ready for part implementation. Of course, the implementation of the traditional educational material in schools, it is the first implementation that may occur. This is why you see here 2 orange clusters under package 4. So this is why we have 2 clusters. Cluster 1, the orange up here.
You have to show the previous package 1, because it corresponds. I mean, you can see it here, because there we don't have all this.
Yeah, okay. But I just wanted to say that the implementation has actually 2 parts. The implementation of the traditional education material in school, which will come first, to be followed by the implementation of the innovative educational material that will follow. So we will have 2 periods of implementation at schools.
But when you say there that the implementation starts in August, the schools are not open.
I mean the preparation, because we will have some meetings to prepare, to organize, to agree on the process to follow. This is why we put almost
The teachers, the school.
No,
Now, this is for the parents, some key, but this, I mean, as you see, when we are ready with the traditional material, we can already see the two blue parts in package 2. The blue ones on the top. So there, as soon as we finish with package the first blue, which is the traditional one, we can use it. And when we have in the second package, the
Nobody.
the augmented reality, we have to find a way, the innovative, let's say, one. It has also, there is also time, the second here, the second group for the implementation of the schools.
So it's one semester,
Yes.
from August to December. Additional.
Yes.
have the semester, the plan. The first semester will be the traditional, and the second semester will be the innovative.
in the same school year, the same class.
The same school year. Now in the class, we will discuss the case of the implementation later on. We will discuss.
There are
Economic implementation.
Must be clear, it will be in another class.
another level. Correct? Another term. But we need to discuss for the purpose of research, if we want to have comparative results, we need to see how we will, there are different options to do that. So we will discuss.
And of course, it's important also to point out that prior to the implementation, the teacher's training will take place.
Yeah.
So the teachers
The
will be trained.
material and training is the package 3.
We're going to report the traditional.
For the tradition and for the advanced material will be done by the University of Crete, but we will be, the training will be prior to the first implementation. So this is how it is planned there.
Well, we will discuss there because, yeah, we will discuss there because still we need to see if the same teachers will have the option for the training of traditional and the training of innovative. And if they are going, the same teachers, to apply it to different students, but at least the teacher should be the same, because we need to if we need to compare for research purposes, we need somehow to use at least one stable parameter, which are the teachers. So this is at least one idea, but we'll discuss this.
In our case, there is a problem. Because since I'm with everything here, we move. So for example, I'm moving.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so we have to know when the preparation of the teachers is going to happen in order to see if the teachers that are going to teach the material will be in the school in the next
In
school year.
another school, but the same teacher. But this might be an option.
I think it's impossible. But then we cannot.
May I add something?
No, the teacher, the schools are the schools that are already in the program.
Yes.
These are the partner schools
Yes.
for sure. Now, if in your case, if a teacher is trained and then has no chance to teach, this is a problem.
Yeah.
in these cases, we may have, with many question marks, we may have possibilities for, in inverted commas, extension of that for research purposes.
Yeah.
So this is something that is not part of the design and part of our contract. That this is what I mean. That it might it might automatically extend when a teacher goes to another
Yes,
school.
we need to understand from the school partners.
Exactly.
So we have to train the teachers that are going to be there.
Exactly.
We are not talking about for 1 or 2 or 3 teachers. We have to be clear that we are talking about a group of teachers that
Yeah,
are going to be involved in the same school. And we are talking about the 4 schools and the 2 associated schools. That's why it must be not a small group, must be
A big one, but this is something
depending.
we will discuss that. We discuss that because it has practical. It will come. We are not yet there. We will come to that. So the first thing is to see if the architecture, as we have described it, because this has been described already in our proposal, needs any amendment. As Bessie explained, the program, let's say the provisions of the program are rather inflexible. The Erasmus Plus the program is inflexible in the sense that you have to describe from the beginning what you are going to do, and if needed, to have some amendments which have to be approved and blah, 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 is a lot of difficulty. It's much better if we can stick to the program. Yes.
I have one remark on the agenda. Yes, okay, because in Corsica, schools are closed during July and August, so they can't test, they can't begin the implementation in August. And in September, it's always difficult to start something because they come back, etc. So it is difficult. And so I think the implementation could not begin in M10 or even in M11. And the same remarks for M21, which is in July. We need to end it before and maybe in M19, because in June, lots of students, the school is open and they must go, but very numerous of children are not in school. So just be careful to this.
Is very well noted. This is.
If I may, just one comment. In the provision, the implementation is for 3 months. So we have an extended period. So we can choose within these months that are marked there. If you can just have it in 3 months or even in 2, depending on your planning. Yes, I mean, this is indicative in order for schools, they can choose months that are more suitable.
Yeah, these explanations there, we don't plan to use all this period, but 2 or 3 months, which are the more suitable. The period is presented in this way, in a more extended way, because as we said, we intend to have, except the schools and others, also impact on non-formal activities by other partners. So they can also use these periods, not at school, but for other parts of the society, with families or with local authorities or whatever. But the schools and will decide. The schools and the partner organization. For example, if Marino wants to, apart from the school, use it for a training of local authorities or whatever based on this material or as an additional input, it will be very useful. So this is more or less the as it from where we start. We have after lunch this afternoon and tomorrow to get in detail in each one of the working packages, and we can discuss, freely. If there are things to be changed, we'll change it. It is nothing is cast in iron. So the main thing is if we all understand, let's say, the philosophy of the project. The philosophy of the project is we prepare something state-of-the-art, science-based, pedagogically correct as traditional material. You all check it, improve it. We give it to the University of Crete. We warn them from the beginning that we may go back to their material and make corrections because the transposition of material into a different format might include many traps and many misunderstandings. So we need time to go back and check it again and again. My experience is that a lot of this material of modern, let's say, approaches is sometimes technical fixes and not the real actually contribution in knowledge sharing. So it is very important that our material does not have these weaknesses. So it is a challenge. It is a challenge for all of us because we are not. I am not expert in using all these modern, let's say, techniques, and we need also to familiarize ourselves before familiarizing the others. So this is very important. And the second is that when we have these two materials, we prepare the educators of the project first well. Because if we have good material, but we don't have enough time and tools to familiarize the educators with this material, we risk to have a good unused material or misused material. So it's very important also, these three steps are all very important. The first, to have a traditional material, very scientifically sound, interesting, and concise. Second, to have a correct, in inverted commas to correct, a correct transposition into modern, innovative material. And third, to make sure that both are well understood by the educators who are going to apply that in the schools. Then we need to see how we choose the best period in the program to present this, to secure that we have enough time hours, understanding from the principles, from the direction or that. And then we have all the rest. So these are the prerequisites. And it is very important that at the end of the day, the schools, because the test is based on the schools. The schools actually are deeply involved in understanding what we do. This is all what I have to say. We have put here some material. Apart from this, which is just a historic but interesting one.
We have anything here.
Okay. We have the strategy, the entire strategy of ESD. We are going to have few copies, also hard copies of the action plan. Yeah, few. That one is the climate change education and outreach. We prepared with we prepared for last year's ministerial in Cyprus. It is written by myself and Zachary with many contributions. This is mostly for East Mediterranean and the Middle East. So we have also the Gulf countries there. And this is more or less material that was provided by the countries on what they are doing on education for sustainable development within it for climate change. It is, however, an interesting book for our group to see what the others have done. The third one is something that we have prepared here in MIO. Harris was instrumental in setting this with our guest editor, Mrs. Vanya Walker-Lee. And it is what we have prepared with major messages from different politicians, but also leaders, environment leaders and others, for the top two COPs back, the one in Glasgow. However, almost everything that is here is still valid because very little has happened since then. So you can have all the copies. I invite you to take copies of all that. We have more copies upstairs. What is for me is important is to keep in mind that this material, we hope that this material will have a follow-up. Yeah. That this material will have a follow-up phase for the entire Mediterranean. I'm going to promote this. I have an idea how. Most probably through the West program, through the expansion of the West program, so that this material is going to be used perhaps also for the non-EU Mediterranean countries of the South. This is why I mentioned before also the big number of educators in the South, because perhaps with this material, at least, the material will become available for them, and we may, under the West program, create a condition, particularly on how to disseminate this information and this material. So this will be also, we all imagine, that is, it might be also a very big visibility for all the institutions around the table when this material is going to be replicated in the entire Mediterranean. this is what I wanted to say. I don't know, perhaps we can have, if there are any comments.
May I underline a thing?
Know if those online, if they want to contribute something.
Could we, I don't see Alessandra. Do we have someone online? Did you have any response from Legazione?
Alex, I see online, Maria is online, I don't know if they want to.
Alexandra or Maria, do you have any comment on
So,
what?
can you see me?
Just a moment.
In a minute. Di solito Vasily. Yes, Maria.
Okay.
Yes.
No, because I was listening, but every time I deactivate the audio and the video, put it off, and then I I wasn't able to put it on again. No, everything is clear. I've been following quite clearly, and yeah.
But if you feel at any moment that we
Yes,
need
of course.
any comment, just intervene, because
Yeah.
sometimes we don't see you when we have the screen.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
But I was able to see the screen and all the things that you had on screen very clearly.
Thank you very much. Maria, again, if there is something from you.
Again, from our side, I think everything was very well put forward by you, Professor. If anything occurs during the implementation of the project, we will come back and discuss it and find the best solution for it. For now, what I think is crucial is to make sure that the implementation in school stays within a school year, and we do not postpone it to a later time, because we have two implementation phases, one in autumn and one in spring, and it's crucial to have them in the same school year. That's all I have to say, but everything else is very clear.
Thank you. You're stressing something very important. Thank you a lot. It has to be understood by all of us. It's exactly as you described. Yes, thank you. So I think we can have now a break for lunch.
The expected plans on May.
Yes, it will be in this. Yeah, I can tell you something that is technical, but I think it will help the life of all of us. The material at the end will be in all languages. The working language is English, but the material will be translated in all languages. So if you prepare your contribution in your native language, it is okay, we translate it, because we have already the translation from English to French or Greek. We can do the opposite. So if this is something that facilitates the more rapid and accurate and better, let's say, structure, and it is okay. So we can afford to translate here the language from, let's say, Greek to English, or from French to English, and Italian to English, and this may help in the preparation to have as soon as possible the material. Preferably, we want it in English, but this should not be the inhibiting factor, because sometimes the translation to write something in a foreign language is more difficult for some. So we can accommodate this. So this is just a technical, let's say, informal comment for those who may prefer to send their contributions in in other languages.
So the University of Phil is going to take it in English.
Yes. They take it in English.
We're going to take it in English, and if it's need related to the other languages, we will take it in this English, for Greek or Italian or French, and we will make
The comments.
Yeah.
But I mean, the idea is that by May, we have it all in English. the material. But how we'll reach this point if we receive something in English directly from the partners or in the native language, it is something that we can accommodate. To be very honest with you, I have difficulty. I had an unpleasant experience receiving texts in very poor English instead of having a good text in their native language and translated from the beginning. Because and this is what I don't like to have, because if you have a poor text in English to be translated then in French or Greek, it is worse. I prefer to have it in proper French, in proper Greek, in proper Italian, and translated, in a decent English text, than to have foreign people writing in a foreign language, and then I have to correct all the text. It is sometimes so difficult. This is why I'm saying this. Okay, so
I think we can. I think we can have a break now and go have a quick lunch. We're going outside, not here at the office, so to enjoy the
next door.
we will go to a nice cafe. We have some salad.
For those of you who are not from Greece, and you go to Yasemin, which is a famous.
Yes, we are going to Yasemin, the famous here. Athens, a famous location. So we'll be back. So we will be back at 2 o'clock. At 2 o'clock. We will be back at 2 o'clock.
Yes. Yes, you leave that.
Πέσει, θα μάθω. Κάνει share screen εσύ.
Τι να κάνω?
Share screen. Όχι. Κάνεις.
Μπορείς να σταματήσεις και το top recording του Zoom.
Αυτό θα κάνω.
Γιατί θα γεμίσει 8
Ναι,
ώρες.
ναι, αυτό θα κάνω.
Sì.